Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who, The Highlanders, which is the fourth Doctor Who story from season 4, and the second featuring Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor, and it's also the first story with Jamie McCrimmon as a new companion, joining the Doctor, Ben and Polly on the TARDIS team. Jamie going on to be the longest serving companion episode-wise, I think. In terms of overall years, I think Clara Oswald has beaten him, but in terms of episodes, I think he's still the most. He's definitely one of the longest reigning companions, certainly of the classic series. I'm not sure overall. It's either him or Clara. I know lots of people would prefer Jamie to be it, but facts are facts. So whilst I'm not certain which one it is, Clara is definitely close competition if she is not beating him. Like I said, in terms of time, it's probably Clara. In terms of episodes, it's probably Jamie. So this story is also the last historical story, at least until 1982's Black Orchid, and the penultimate historical overall. As since Black Orchid, there has been no historical story, and it's been either pseudo-historical, mostly pseudo-historicals. In fact, I don't think there was even that many pseudo-historicals until we got to the Time Warrior. I mean, there was Evil the Daleks scenes with the Daleks and the Abominable Snowman, but that's about it, I think. Abominable Snowman and parts of the Evil of the Daleks. But that's it. After that, there's no pseudo-historical until the Time Warrior. And then we'll get a few more pseudo-historicals in the Tom Baker era. And then, yeah, it's mostly pseudo-historicals we get. There isn't many historicals. I actually just watched a video Matt did for the Universals that should be coming up soon. And he's talking about it. And yeah, he's got some points. Maybe historicals should come back. Pure historicals, but it seems the BBC are a bit scared to do them again due to not being very popular. Series 11 had the opportunity with Demons of the Punjab and Witchfinders, but ultimately never went for it. Rosa, I would say, I'm agreeing with Matt, works better as a pseudo-historical, whilst the other two probably would as actual historicals, especially the Witchfinders, considering what the aliens were doing, what they were like, and the way they were used in that story. So anyway, the Highlanders, but yeah, I can see why some people just got fed up with the historicals, and that's why they decided to abandon ship with them. After this story, and yeah, Troughton's only one in that case. It's alright, Black Orchid's Peter Davison's only one. Although that one did follow a pseudo-historical, whilst this one has the benefit of following a sci-fi story, and which was preceded by a kind of I would want to say contemporary sci-fi, but it was set in 86, so a not too distant future contemporary sci-fi. I guess maybe would that only be in the next couple of years? Certainly a sci-fi, but with a contemporary feel. So yeah, we haven't had a historical since the Smugglers, and after this we won't until Black Orchid. So, which is in 1982, season 19, which we'll get to eventually. Anyway, so this story sees the Doctor, Ben and Polly caught up in the affair in a battle between English Redcoats and Scottish Highlanders, who are fighting for Bonnie Prince Charlie, because Bonnie Prince Charlie claims to be an heir to the British throne, but it's currently being, I think it's George II who's currently on the phone, Ignore that. My sister and some of her friends are coming for some hot chocolate. Ignore all that. So, anyway. Yes, there's this whole bloody war going along with it, because Scottish supporting the Stuart body, Prince Charlie, and the English redcoats are serving King George II, I think. King George II. And it's actually pretty brutal. The English are taking no prisoners. Any they do, they immediately execute. Or get sent as slaves to the Highlanders if when this lawyer intervenes. But everybody else, at least I would say, at least the Scottish don't kill any prisoners, as far as I'm aware. Not they might have, but this story doesn't say anything about it. I'm just going by what this story says. So in this story, the English are fucking bastards for the most parts. So, yeah, I don't know why they're so nasty. I can see why they would... they delight in killing Scots. They execute maybe some... But every single Scot... Unless lawyers, like this lawyer guy, interferes and has them shipped off as prisoners to be sent into work in the colonies. It's actually him who actually ends up saving the Dr. Ben, Jamie, and the Laird. Scottish people, I'm so sorry for pronouncing it wrong. And has them sent to work in the colonies instead of being executed. Meanwhile, Polly and Kirsty, the Laird's daughter, are trying to think of a way to rescue them, and eventually they come round to help. The Doctor manages to escape with his ingenuity, same for Ben later on, and eventually they're able to rescue the Scots and stop them being deported and have them sail off to be safe in France. So then they have to get back to the TARDIS, treading dangerous territory, but Polly has managed to blackmail this English soldier, who eventually ends up being a pretty good guy at the end. I mean, he's not like Quinn or Valmar from the previous story. He's not a great character, but he ends up being okay at the end, helping the good guys in the end and stopping this other prick, who seemed to be the good way out to start with, but ended up being a nasty piece of work. His clerk also starts off as a nasty piece of work, but then ends up spitting in his face. So not completely terrible. Although I'm sure it's him in a scene where he almost attempts to rape either Polly and Kirsty or another girl. Rape / have his way with. He's not done with them until he's interrupted. So, yeah, not the best character. Is it me, or do all of these historical British army, or not just British, army soldiers or generals and guards and stuff like that, do they all sound the same? This big, bombastic, shouty, very British accenty characters who will yell at the top of their voices sometimes. They will, and they all sound alike. Anyway, so my main problem with this story is not much happens. Not really. I mean, part one is mostly focusing on being in the situation, almost being hung, and then being taken off to be slaves. And then the other three parts are sort of about to be transported away, being the prisoners, Doctor trying to get out, and Polly, who actually gets stuff to do in this story, and Kirsty trying to rescue them. It's the other place. I do want to point out, I do like Polly basically having a go at Kirsty at some points for crying. She's basically leader in Horror Fang Rock at this point. I will say this, that despite Polly screaming at some of the monsters in some later stories, she doesn't really take any crying when they're going against tough. She's got to toughen up a little bit in order to try and help. And she's trying to make sure Kirsty does as well. Yes, but it reminds me of Leader in the Horror Fang Rock at that point, where the companion is having a go at a another female character for crying or being scared or something. There's actually a very good bit in Horrifying Rock where Leela slaps a crying woman just for doing that. So I don't like abuse against women, even by other women, but it was just a good scene from the companion. Anyway, so the Highlanders, not much happens, basically. I mean, there is some interesting stuff that happens, but it's mostly not much. There isn't much. It's not terrible, it's not boring. It's just not that great, it's not that interesting. There are some good stuff, like Polly and Kirsty having more to do, the Doctor using his ingenuity to get out of there, and Ben later on as well, and the Doctor's also acting a bit, Patrick Troughton's Doctor acts a bit more like the Patrick Troughton Doctor we know from later on. So that's a good sign. But overall, and Jamie is good in his first story. Doesn't get a terrible amount to do, but he's good. But it's just not much. There isn't that much happening, and I can see why the historicals were scrapped after this. Cause if they're not going to do that much, then what's the point? But it's not a bad way for them to go out. It's okay. So I'm going to give the Highlanders a 7 out of 10. Not boring, but it's just not, nor is it uninteresting for the most parts, but it's just, there isn't that much going on, that's all. So yeah, I think I would say the same for the Smugglers, although I think that one was a bit less interesting. This one was a bit more interesting. Anyway, that's it from my review of the Highlanders. Next time I'll be looking at the Underwater Menace, and we'll be going to a bit more of a sci-fi story for Jamie's first proper story as a companion. He wasn't really a companion here, but he then joins the TARDIS team at the end. So from his next story, he will be a proper companion until we get to the War Games. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Like I said, in terms of meanwhile, they then have to. Oh, we noticed. Excuse me. I'm sorry, we're going to have lots of interruptions. We need to soundproof these walls and doors. Okay, I'm hearing that we're going to have a lot of interrupting, so I'm going to have to wrap it up. I don't know how it will sound to you on the when it comes around to it, but yeah, we'll just have to wrap it up. That's actually a very good bit in Horrifying Rock where Leela slaps another woman. I'm not for abuse against women, thankfully that is, though I'm not. Fuck, just leave those scenes, just leave it out. Anyway, so, but anyway, oh, can you at least be quiet? What do you think? I'm sorry, I can't do the other two reviews today. I'll have to save those.